This is the Out the Box Rugby podcast, only on Megafoon Rugby.
Welcome back to the Out the Box Rugby podcast. I managed to corner Andre Pretorius over in Japan and said, please help me understand what's going on with the Bulls defense. And he went home and did his homework as he usually does. And thank you for that, Andre, and welcome back.
Great to be back, and it's good to be watching URC, although my sleep has taken a big knock. It's good to see the SA teams back in the URC.
Well, it depends on which team you're supporting. I mean, only the Stormers are doing well. All the other South African teams are pretty woeful. Sharks haven't won anything. Lions haven't won anything. Bulls started off reasonably well, but stuttered and sort of faltered against Ulster. Lots of question marks being raised about that. So what we're going to do in this video, Andre, and thank you for going to the trouble of getting us these clips, is looking at the Bulls' defense, their woeful defense, let's call it what it is, and try and understand what's going on and what's going wrong. And then compare it to the Stormers, who've now in 2 games conceded no points at all, which means their defense has really taken up a step. They've really taken Harry's criticism to heart from last year. And then one of the big things that we've been talking about is the fact that in the new type of rugby, it's all about attack. So yes, we'll concede 3 tries, but we're going to score 6. The Bulls have tried that to a degree, but it didn't work against Ulster. So we're going to look at what Stormers are doing well on the attack. I've got that right.
Yeah, and I think, just before we start, you kind of accept the fact that the coaches do their job. I promise you, they'll do their jobs, or they'll be very well prepared. And you can only do so much, and then it's up to the players. And my big concern, Invia, is that from the games that I watched, something was trending for me within the Bulls, especially their defense. Because I was focusing on that, I saw more of that, but just a lack of urgency, a lack of, working on line breaks, working on when teams do dent your defense on the edge, working to get back, kick chases, etc., etc. You see players walking. There's one clip where I'll show you where we go 12 seconds, and once the camera pans out, you actually see that the defense hasn't set. They've had 12 seconds after the kick to set, and it's still not set. Now, you can be any coach in the world. You can have the best plans. You can have the best tackle technique, the best equipment. It doesn't matter. If the players do not step up the urgency and make that decision to chase when the chips are down, to ensure that you're chasing and catching up on the inside of your mate, etc., you are going to concede some points.
Well, you raised an interesting question there, and that is about the responsibility of the players. And a big part of the question for me is when I've been speaking to Johan Ackermann and the likes is it a problem with the players' ability or mentality, let's rather say that, or is it a problem with the defensive structure? I know we can't say because we're not in the camp, but just as a matter of interest from a bird's eye point of view right from the start, what do you think that is? Do you think it's a problem with the structure? Is it a problem with the players' attitude, almost, call it that? What do you think might be going on here?
It's not an easy question to answer and to give you a straight up answer and say it is the structure or it's just the players. It's kind of like the chain on a bicycle. If you've got this whole beautiful bicycle going, but if that chain's broken, you're going to be pushing that bike and it's not going to work the way it's supposed to. And that's kind of what I think the mentality of the players is like. That's the heartbeat. You'll have the structures. Those boys can play rugby. That's not the problem. It's them getting up for games, and it's strange in certain areas where you see new players getting into systems, getting opportunities, and they're the ones not setting early enough. They're the ones walking. They're the ones, and you think, you've got a new coach, you've got an opportunity it's a clean canvas. You can get yourself on the table for every single match. Just ensure that the Springboks call it your battle rate. If that's down, you don't get selected. As easy as that. And I think I've said it before. What you tolerate is what you get. And if you're not going to be talking about this, and I see the Bulls have made some changes. Why? It's like you said, we don't know. But if you're going to tolerate slow setting, bad work rate, bad attitude, etc., etc., players are going to pick up on that and go, well, it's supposed to be one of our standards, but nothing gets done. So that's not really a standard of ours.
Mm. Yeah, that's an important question that you just mentioned, the new coach. How long does it take a coach typically to set in? I mean, I saw lots of people saying that you must give him time to settle in. Some other people saying, listen, a world-class coach will make a difference from day one. With the kind of hospital pass that Johan Ackermann was given, very short notice, couldn't bring in his own coaches, had to could deal with the players, basically just taking over mid-stride almost. I mean, how difficult a job do you think that would be? You've often been to a team with a new coach coming in. What is the challenge really?
Well, the challenges are endless, to be honest. He's managing people. He has to manage his coaching staff. He needs to see where they're lacking, what they need, what he can assist, and where he needs to get people into a system. With the players, he's getting to know the players one by one personally, and that's the way Johan coaches. Obviously, that's one of his strengths, is the relationship. So he'll be working on that, and in the midst of it all, he needs to be winning games as he goes along. So it's no easy task at the moment, and it does take time, but I think you need to bite the bullet, and you need to focus on one thing at a time and not try and do everything. The expectations are quite high, and that's the other problem.
Yeah,
well,
that's
not
the
problem.
boost.
That's the other challenge. The expectations are quite high, so it does take time, Mbia, but you want to see some improvement. And I think what he got at the Lions was he got backing from his coaches in there. Everybody believed in each other. They said, we can't play this type of rugby. He left Swys. Swys played that type of rugby. Their defense grew as a side because the side grew as a team. The cohesion picked up. The whole attitude and team building dynamic was dealt with in the correct way. And then you got what you got with the Lions in that era. So it does take time, and at the moment, with everything that's going on and needing to win games as well, it's a tough task.
Yeah, the difference was the Lions when JP Ferreira came in as defense coach, if I'm not mistaken. He sorted the defense out. So, it was a team effort. It started gelling together. I'm just wondering, where there's a point where the man management has to take a back seat, the kumbaya moments, as we call it, has to take a back seat, and a bit of a more disciplinarian approach needs to be taken. Like you just said, if you do something wrong, there has to be consequences. Do you think Johan has got the goons to make that happen?
Well, you also don't want to get into a situation where you come in and you make players think that if you make a mistake, you make one mistake, you're gone. Because then you're bringing fear, anxiety, all of that into the group. What I would suggest is that, what I've seen worked in the past is you set your standards out there, everybody signs off on those standards, and you're kept to those standards. Because that's when the kumbaya moments mean a lot more, because everybody's held to the same standards, and it's very high standards. And if you're not going to be held to it, and if you're not going to yourself hold yourself to it, you're not going to play. As easy as that. It doesn't matter if you're an under 20 player or you're a player that's been there for years, you've played for the Springboks. That's our standards. And I think that's when players start respecting the coach and go, well, it doesn't matter who you are. And then, because he's got such good relationships with the players, those tough conversations become a lot easier. And it's honest. He doesn't have to be anybody else. He can just be himself. That's the standard. You guys signed off on it. And, maybe you need to go and have a look if this jersey means enough to you, because you haven't kept to the standard.
Okay. All right, enough of that stuff. The soft stuff. Let's talk hard stuff. Let's have a look at those clips. What did you pick up, just in general? Just tell us about the defensive efforts that you've seen. Just give us a quick rundown of what you saw before we dive into the clips themselves.
Yes, I think it's also, I need to say that you need to be very careful when you do these isolated incidents and take that as the picture as a whole. What I've done is there's a couple of tries from the Bulls games where I will show the try and then show how they got there, how they actually meant, got to that try. I mean, the first try for Ulster on the weekend was the Bulls attacking. They were attacking. They were on the front foot. One bad pass, kick through, and they scored. So it's also important to note these things. And then it's not just one or two games. I watched all the games, and some of these things are trending. It's things that you pick up in every single game, and I thought those were the things that we can show.
All right, let's go. Let's have a look.
So NBA, as mentioned, first clip, goal line dropout. Bulls get the ball. Nice attacking opportunity. Rudolph, nice and hard into the contact. Bulls on the front foot. Maybe too many deep passes. Great straightening. Now, this is quite interesting. So they go out the back, and you can see the space just outside that pod where the ball's going out to the 10. Now, a lot of the 10s, especially in Japan, they do this really well. And I've seen the Australians, James O'Connor, Mackenzie, also do this very well. They attack this little seam just outside that pod. And then they have a runner with them that keeps this guy at bay. And if this closes up, that's when you play this out the back and these two players are isolated. But in this clip, you'll see Andre rush the pass, doesn't attack. And this is my question. So the Bulls go out the back, want to go out the back again. But even if this player at the back gets the pass, who is he going to pass to? Because the next player is in front of the ball. And I just wonder what the idea was if the ball wasn't supposed to go from Willie straight onto the wing, that little bridge ball, and they take that space there. But this ball is going nowhere. And then from there, they actually concede this try. But again,
Marco couldn't keep up.
You go into this space. First thing, I'd love to see Andre just attack that channel there. Willie stays alive. They bite onto him. Then he gets the ball out the back. These two will have to either slow down or speed up, but they probably don't get to Willie, and then he can make that pass to the outside. Bulls mistake. That's how they concede this. And it's difficult on a defense system. You don't practice your defense for these types of moments. The transition is just impossible to cover.
Do you think that's a result of the fact that, Pollard only had 2 training sessions before the game? I mean, he's never played for the Bulls, or he hasn't played for the Bulls in 6 years. Maybe that's why that happened, because he wasn't, properly briefed almost for the Bulls game plan.
I would argue that could be it, but that play is a world rugby play. Every team in the world plays that ball out the back. That seam opens up on the outside of that pod. You get a runner with you. You go into that seam, get the offload. So I don't know if Willie was putting him under pressure to get the ball onto the outside, but again, the pressure from Ulster in that outside channel, they were leaving players open to go and cut off Willie, and that forced the rushed pass, and then obviously that conceded the try. So, and we'll come back to that, but instead of having connection on the outside, Ulster got off the line and they closed up that space.
Okay.
So the next one, we'll show the try first. This is from a tap play, pick and go, and this was actually Augustus's try. And it's so difficult on the line. They think they're in front on, and they actually concede that try. Now, if we look at how they got there, and this is the 12-second clip. So I want you to have a look at these players and some of these players' reactions after the kick is made. And then 12 seconds later, have a look at the defense setting from that ruck. So there's the kick. You got two players that's coming out of the line, sprinting, getting a high edge to put pressure on any passes going into the midfield. Intensity a bit low there, and this is brilliant. Foster, I think it's de Klerk, Burger, they're working so hard to get that ruck slowed. So 12 seconds later, this is the defense setting. Now this disconnection, I understand that's what you call trap space. So you want them to go into that space, and it also gives your spacing a bit of width if you do keep that trap space. But this is too wide. This is too wide. That's not in position yet. So, and I just showed you what I'd like to see Andre do on the edge of that pod. This is what it looks like. So just on there's the disconnection. Attacks into that seam with the runner. And that's what I mean, Envia. If you take any runners with you, this defender cannot get to that 10. He's got to watch those runners. So you get ball out the back, great line there, and then the attack into that seam.
It's always interesting. Oh, for me, watching the game, it always looked like, you saw a gap, but you don't always realize how well that was planned and practiced and executed as well.
That's right. And because this line is so good, he's watching the ball, he's always an option. This defender had to come and have a look at him. But again, if they were set, 3 would probably be a bit wider. He'll be on him. You'll get 4 onto the plus. And then if your setting's right, the next guy will take him coming around from the back door. But because they're not set, that disconnect on this part, that just opens it up.
All right. Now
that's where they concede the penalty.
The $64,000 question is, why weren't they set?
Well, if you go back, like I said, just have a look at that group of players in the beginning, and you can see just 2 players sprinting to get off the line. And it's just, I would like more intensity, kind of call it turbo time or whatever you want to call it. Get in the line, get your connection, cut off that wide play, ensure that next phase you're set and you outwork that attack. They have to go back now. You can go forward. You should be set before them.
I want to ask an obvious question. Sorry to interrupt you, but why are they jogging? Are they unfit or something?
That's the $1 million question. But it is having an effect on their defense settings. And I assume that if you go and have a look at the attack, you'll see them probably not being positioned at certain times when they need to attack, which takes away options from the 10, it takes away options from the 9, etc. So this could be filtering through into the attacking game as well. This was the Maul try. Now, as a Bulls fan, this is the last thing you want to see. The Bulls forwards on roller skates conceding that try. And, obviously for a team like Ulster scoring a Maul try against the Bulls, that just gets their tails up. The positivity is running through their veins. This is how we got there. Bulls with a yellow card. A little fake play. I thought this was well defended. Pollard switched off there for a while. Otherwise, he could probably make this tackle earlier. I think he anticipated the wide play. Switched off. Still got to him, though. Right. Now, you got a winger protecting a ball. That's it. There's no other player the nine wants to play. You've got your wing. You've got your 7. I think that's the 7. And then you got Pollard standing up. And the wing is still alone. your 9 identifies the opportunity for the counter ruck, but it's too late. He's side on, he's looking down at the ball. Every opportunity you've got to put ruck pressure and you miss it. Your 9 is the one that takes it, but he takes it too long. He takes it too late.
Look at where Gumede is looking. Look at that. Look at where Gumede is looking. Just slightly, yeah. Look, he's not even looking at the ruck there.
Yeah. So again, you know, we can say that he's looking at elsewhere. Is that a focus point for them? You know, some teams don't want to put wide ruck pressure. They're afraid of being beaten by the blind. Or I just think that you want to have ways of getting the ball back or disrupting rucks or giving yourself an opportunity. If you are setting slow, give yourself an opportunity, buy some more time by putting their rucks under pressure. And this is an ideal situation. You got a wing that's side on, his head is down, he's looking at where the 9's picking up the ball, and they just pick it up too late. On the next frame, you'll see that's a fantastic setting. That's a good setting. And the problem we have here is Ulster actually get 5 passes away and they go around the bulls. Now, most international teams will work between 2 and 3 passes, then your defense, especially from within the 15 meters. 3 passes max, you want to cut that off and ensure that that ball doesn't get wide. And we'll have a look quickly. We'll go, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they're into the wide spaces, getting the pressure passes away.
So what happened? Why? You know, who wasn't doing his job there?
So that's great line speed. But the problem is that the outside is disconnected from the inside high line. So the pressure is not, there's no pressure on the next ball player.
So that player that's lagging behind is the problem. Who's that? Looks like Volker almost.
I think that's the one. Yeah, I think it's him. And then you got Steenekamp.
Yeah.
And that's not bad. But now you need the rest of them. If one's going to go, you've got to go. So the pressure outside Steenekamp is so important now. And once you can see they stay connected very well, but they still concede that line break on the edge.
So the fact that Volku, I think it is Volku, was lagging, it sort of negated the guy next to him shooting up because, you know, that relieved the pressure. What was the problem there?
I think it's unfair to just call Volko. I think I would like him to be up more, but you'll see them check. So Steenekamp checks there.
Why does he check? Because Volku's behind him?
I think it's because of these 2 runners. So he has to check on these 2. He has to check on them, which is not a problem. But then you're going to need this. Get up there. Get up there. And you leave the last 2. And that's what Ulster did on that earlier clip. Because if you're not going to do it, rather go slow your feet, go up and out and just push them into that. If you really want to keep connection, take away the speed then. But if you want line speed, you can't expect connection all the way. But then you've got to commit. You've got to get those outside players. You need pressure on the ball the whole time, which means that they can't make good decisions on their next pass. And they got high line on the outside, which means you've got an opportunity to catch someone man and ball. But you've got to be comfortable with leaving that. And that's the problem.
So the last Bulls player should have been higher up to start with.
Yes.
Okay. So he was
again, I don't know if that's their system. I don't know if that's their system. But you kind of see there's line speed there. Right? So now, and then Steenekamp pushes through. Now there's line speed there. But there's nothing coming with him. So it's every time it's 1 and 1. If you get these 2 players up, that ball pressure there means that he can't throw the bridge. He doesn't have the time to load the ball to throw the bridge. So you can only hit there or there. And then you've got those 2 players, high edge, get comfortable with leaving these 2 and putting pressure on that. Otherwise, you're better off just going the old up and out route, keep your connection and push them to the outside. And then you probably make the tackle over here and you don't concede the line break. But now you've gone line speed, no line speed, disconnected, and they still get around.
I'm going to ask you another speculative question. You didn't know if that was their system, but if you just look at it, do you think that could have been their system, or was it a player error or team error?
I see this picture too many times. I see this picture too many times where you get your inside defense up and your outside defense is kind of go slow go, where you go, and when the ball's in the air or when the ball's caught, you slow up. When the ball's in the air, then you go again. And it's the responsibility of the inside to catch up on the outside players, and they're waiting to make decisions. But the problem is teams are playing too deep, you're not getting there, and then they beat you on the outside.
Okay.
Right, on the next one, nice little cross kick. Catch it in front, the clerk lets him go. And it seems like a very simple try. But let's have a look how they got there. Bulls line out. They go the aerial route. I don't know if there was wind, but that didn't go probably as far as they wanted to. Loose ball, 1 missed tackle, 2 missed tackles. Foster recovers. Quick ball. Have a look at the 4 players on the outside, and this will be relevant when you see how they beat them on the outside. So we've got four players on the outside. You've got a double hit, and you've got Willie, who's not going to fold. He's going to go back to his position at the back, which is understandable. So you still got 4 players on the outside. You've got a double hit, missed tackle. He needs to re-tackle. We've got 1 player coming back from the outside, which means you're only 3 now. 1 folding, 1 returning, and now you're set with this narrow setting and 2 players that's free on the outside. They go to space, and it's just, if you're going to jump late, if they're going to go into that space, you're going to be in trouble. Beats him to the punch. He actually lets him go. I think he thinks this pass has been made, which causes 1 more player to commit to that tackle. Can't take that one, and then they concede that one. So again, it was the Bulls ball, aerial route, scrap, 2 missed tackles, narrow spacing, don't get up in the air, and you're in trouble.
I want to talk to you about those missed tackles quickly, if you don't mind. I asked you on Sunday, the Bulls apparently had a 1% dominant tackle figure or statistic for this game, 1%, which means basically 1 out of 100 tackles. And then he said, that meant that when they missed a tackle, it wasn't a dominant tackle. Another player had to come cover for that, and another player had to come, because that was not a dominant tackle either. What exactly does that mean, and what do you read into that?
Non-dominant tackles can be a symptom of a line speed, a team that doesn't have line speed, that is not getting off the line. Can also be a team that's not double shoulder focused, team that's leg chop and jackal focused, so they don't really go for the big hits. They want to get teams on the ground, they want to get the ball back. But in my mind, the connection that it looks like the Bulls have a priority on should give you a lot more double shoulder opportunities. The other thing, Envia, is that teams are getting smarter now. You want a defense that can function against good and bad attack. You don't want a defense that's just functioning against one-dimensional, one-off running. When teams play like that against the Bulls, they defend really well. They stand up to the physical nature of it and they defend well. But as soon as teams, and the Lions have actually shown this, seen this recipe against the Bulls, and so has the Stormers. Once they start moving that ball around away from those walls and they're hitting doors, that's when the Bulls start chasing. And that's when their dominant hits aren't as evident as they would like them to be. And that's when you get the stat that you do. So teams I think have worked out that if you keep the ball against the Bulls, and if you can play into those wider channels, and I don't mean into the 15s, just into those seams, you get some space, get it offload away. Now you're in behind them, and that's where they start chasing. So I think dominant hits can be a symptom of numerous things. I wonder just if in this case, it's a case of teams being smart and not running into those walls where they normally ran into, and they're starting to go just that channel wider, playing off 10, going out the back, hitting those cross kicks, and the Bulls' big boys aren't making as many tackles.
Okay, that's just an interesting one.
This was the Leinster game, so they just conceded a try. Good kickoff. First missed tackle, at least they keep them inside the 22. And, even though Leinster, they weren't at their best, they were willing to keep this ball, and they got a lot of reward for that. So that's what I mean. When teams run into that part of let's call it the power defense, when they run into that's probably not as good as they wanted, but they still get stopped in front of the gain line. Now, playing off 10, going out the back. Now, what you'd like to see here is once that ball goes, you want to see players pushing onto the next player. And this guy pushing onto the next player, keeping their shape, which means that Steenekamp, I think it's Steenekamp, he's going to be allowed to get to their back door. And I think it's Taron switches off. They commit Marcel. Is it Marcel? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Marcel and Steenekamp, they commit both of them. And now you have to use your outsides to make this tackle. Make this tackle. Kutsia covers. Get the offload. Still going. Again, have a look at these players at the bottom. So you've just conceded a line break. You have to get back. You're in trouble on the other side. Have a look at the intensity and the effort at the bottom of the picture. You're in trouble. They lose the ball for a while. Ruck. Have a look at the body language that you can see. That's not a fight position. That's not a ready position. I'm talking. I'm telling the guy next to me, I've got the 9, stay there. On the other side of the ruck as well, you get guys hands on hips. Now, there's actually a study out that you can recover a lot quicker when you're in this position. But I think you recover when you have to recover. Whistle to whistle, you need to be in a position to make the tackle. So there's time on the other side to actually get their setting a bit wider, maybe fold one more. Yet there's no communication, narrow spacing. Cometa just stays on that spot. One pass cuts out 3 players, and all of a sudden, and I do blame de Klerk here as well, because as a wing, you're the guy that's in trouble. So you should take control of that space. You should be calling them wider. You should be calling the fold if you need it. But on the other edge, Zak Burger was on that edge, and he should also be close to that to assist with the spacing problem there. And if de Klerk, maybe he called it, I can't hear that, but still, he's the one that gets into trouble, gets into the 2-on-1. And you've just conceded a try. and then you show that level of intensity and I think they actually concede the lead. Yeah. So
Andre, one more thing. Hands on hips is typically a sign of being tired. Again, asking the question, are they in shape?
Well, like I always say with these types of questions, if I was the burning bush, I would be able to give you a great answer. I'm not.
Yeah.
I can just tell you that if you're the defense coach and the players are, because when players stand like that, there's no communication. There's no micro communication going, okay, I've got him, you take the outside. If he goes out the back, you push off, I've got your inside, etc. There's nothing being spoken to get an extra player onto that side. Their spacing's very, very narrow. Gumedi's in his pocket there. And if they were 2 meters wider, they make that tackle on Prendergast. Or at least they give de Klerk a chance to make the tackle on the next player. But one pass, 3 players, and you are going to concede, especially against. They're not playing well at the moment, or they weren't playing well, but they'll finish these.
Well, that's Ireland's number 10. Make no mistake. He knows what he's doing.
So box kick. The Bulls actually win the aerial battle. Still think that was a bit of a around the neck. Go wide. Now, just on the attack, I think the decision here it's not a great one. You've got some speedsters, great attackers on the outside. You've got people in front of you. You've got players in front of you. Your vision's blocked. Just put that ball into the edge. Give the boys an opportunity. Devon steps to the inside. Teron picks up, makes some great yards. Right, now they concede the turnover. Have a look at the reaction. So there's a sign, boys, go wide, go wide. 2 players on 9, which makes a big difference when it comes to your spacing. And you've got these boys at the bottom. Again, have a look at this group. Have a look at the work rate to get into position and to chase the line break.
What work rate, Andre? What work rate?
It's surprising. It really does surprise me. You've got a new coach there. You've got a chance to put your name on the books, to be part of the team going forward, and that it's just not a good visual. Just on the defense here, I think that line speed was really good. And then, but what you need now again, MVA, you need ball pressure. Get onto him. Don't give him an opportunity to make good decisions. And then that little push through from Kriel becomes very important, because if Prendergast feels that pressure from the inside, if he feels that ball pressure there, he can only play there or there. That man's marked. He's going to get smashed. But because there's no pressure, have a look at him. He goes, pump. Now he's got the opportunity, sees the space. I think a blind man could have probably seen that space. And now you're chasing again. And they do concede from here. Willie gives them the line out. I feel sorry for the forwards there, because there were 2 scrums there, which I think one of them, the Leinster, could have been pinned. But the Bulls conceded both of those. Well, that's what I've got for you, Emmy. I know it doesn't make for good viewing. It's not just bad. Obviously, it's stuff that we pick up and we can show and explain. But there is some red flags there. There are some red flags there.
Yeah. The big thing is, can it be fixed, and can it be fixed quickly? Because it would be pretty woeful. That. To me, the one thing that stood out is the fact that their work rate was so low, that they were slow, that they were walking when they should have been running. You mentioned Zach Burger, for example, should have been running and then jogging, and he jogged and then ran, and it was too late. And I'm a little concerned about the conditioning from what I've seen here, more than anything else. It's that you want to be there, but you can't be there. You said it yourself. Often you were so tired, you just could not get there. And that's an interesting conundrum, don't you think?
Yeah, look, I don't exclude myself from a group of players that's walking on the one side. I've been there. You're so tired and you can't get there. But I see this picture a couple of times and I think, is it being tolerated? Is it not being spoken about? Is it something that they're still working on? Is that the reason that the players are now being changed? Because certain players have not, because you can't give a player one game. You need to give him a game or two and say, listen, this is our standards. But then you've got to uphold those. You've got to keep them accountable. And once they don't do it, they need to realize that the next player is going to get his opportunity. And he needs to understand the process as well. And that's how you become, and I always use the Springboks as an example, because any guy wearing that Springbok jersey at the moment, he knows you've got 3 or 4 guys knocking on the door. And if you don't pick up your battle rate, if you don't do your basics well, if you're not having an impact in the game, you're probably not going to play the next one.
I want to ask you a fairly obvious question that just came to mind was, yes, that's a new head coach, Johan Ackermann came in, but every single other coach is still the same. The assistant coaches, the line-out coach, the forwards coach, the back coach, the defense coach, everybody's the same. Can you see any difference in the defensive structure, for example, compared to what it was last year, that these players were used to anyway, regardless who the coach was, the head coach was? Or is it a question of something has changed that they need to adapt to, or is it basically the same defensive type of structure that they had last year?
The one difference is the obvious one that you mentioned, and it's the fact that the dominant tackle rate has gone down. I also feel the ruck pressure is not that evident at the moment, where you get guys, you get certain guys that will put ruck pressure. But in my opinion is, I think the teams have worked the Bulls out in terms of not playing into those walls anymore, and just 1 or 2 passes, get around them, make them chase back. Now you start seeing, if you make them chase back, their setting is slow, so they get in even more trouble from that ruck. And then you're chasing line breaks and offloads, which makes it next to impossible. You're going to be chasing, and then you're either going to concede penalties, so you're going to be defending mauls a lot, or you're going to defend tap plays, which a lot of teams has got probably about a 60 or 70% score ratio once they do get into that 5-meter zone. So it's the difference for me is the collisions, and the system looks the same to me. I think the teams have caught on.
All right. So now you've got a problem. Your system has stayed the same. The teams have worked you out. How do you change it? How do you fix that in the middle of a season?
Pressure. MV, you got to create pressure. You got to create pressure. You had a clip there where you've got a wing standing over a ball, side on, head down, and you've got a 7, 14, and a 10, and a 9 for that matter. That's very physical. Not reacting to that. So you want to build pressure. You want to apply pressure in more ways than not. That outside, you can't let teams get around you using 5 passes. It's just, that's, if they get around you in 5 passes, it means that somewhere you're just watching them play rugby and then waiting for them to get around you and then chasing. So you're chasing up to chase back, where you'd be better off to just stay connected, push them out and watch them play in front of you and then go and tackle them on the edge. But get that high edge, put their skill set under pressure. I know we hear that so often at the moment, but the teams that are making inroads into other teams' attack with their defense are the teams that's putting pressure, either on the ground or in the air, or getting line speed, getting in amongst them, making it difficult for the 10, making the teams attack where you want them to attack, and then inevitably actually kicking the ball away, and then you can start using your counter attack or your own kicking game to put pressure on them.
So, but the point is, they can still fix it. They've got enough coaches, clever people that can sit down, work it out, and do the necessary adjustments. It's not a lost cause. It's just something that it's going to have to be worked on.
Fixing, I really don't think there's a problem with the system. I know John, he's a fantastic coach. He was an attack coach before he was a defense coach. He's got a great rugby brain. I believe his system is quite sound. We implemented in all the teams that I coached with him. So I know that system. It's got to start with the players, India. It's got to start with players saying, that's the last time you see me walk on the other side of the ruck.
Yeah.
That's the last time when there's a line break. I don't care about the system then. I want to go and help Villy. I want to go and help Devon. I want to get back there and help my mates to ensure that we don't concede. We get one more ruck and we get one more opportunity to keep them away from that 5 meter line. Because we know what happens in the 5 meter line. A lot of teams score.
All right. So it comes down to the head coach having to take out the whip and sort out the people. That's what it comes down to. The system is there. The system might have been worked out a little bit, but the point is it's still a sound system. If the players do what they're supposed to do, it's going to work. And they have to just step up. That's what it is.
The bottom line for the head coach is he drives the environment, and the environment then creates the culture. You don't create a culture. The culture is created by the environment that you put out there. And what you tolerate is what you're going to get. So if you see these pictures and you're more concerned about, you've got to change your attitude and your intensity and your effort and your work rate first. You've got to do that. Otherwise, you can have any plan. They're not going to be in position. They're not going to be chasing back. You're going to concede 10 line breaks and you're going to concede 6 tries. Where you want to, if you concede 10 line breaks, you want to concede 2 tries or 3 tries and save 7. But you can't do that if players are taking their time on the opposite side or don't have that effort mindset to get to that next one. So the head coach has got to drive that. Yeah, I agree.
All right. Now, even though it galls me, the one team whose defense has really stepped up is, like I said at the beginning of this video, are the Stormers. And you've got a couple of those. So show us how defense should be done. You don't null 2 teams out of 3 games, by chance. What are they doing right?
I think it's pressure. They're not doing it right every single time. They get it wrong. Boys shoot up on the edge. They get beaten on the outside. But then you look at how they get beaten, you think, that was great attack. That was slick hands, boys holding their feet, early catches, making really good decisions at high speed. And you go, well, you deserve to get around us. That's how you're supposed to. But if you get one wrong, we're going to be on top of you, and then you're going to feel the pressure because we're getting off our line. So let's have a look at how the Stormers will start with their attack and then move on to how their defense actually creates opportunities for their attack. So Leinster concedes a free kick here. Immediately Roos, tap and go. Good carry up again. That rucking. De Villiers, not waiting for anybody to get over. He takes his own player. He wins that ruck in the air. Quick ball. Now we play. Dixon, cannon arm. He gets hit. That arm goes down immediately, keeping him up, but the tackler stays on his leg. Otherwise, he gets another go. Good clean. And this is something that I see that's quite common with the Stormers now. This pass, if this pass goes to Simelane there, this defender gets an opportunity to recover. But because it's so flat, he's around the corner. And another thing that's very common is that pressure pass. They're not afraid to throw this. They do get a couple wrong where they throw forward passes. Round the corner, immediately out into the wide edge. And you've got some jet shoes, good feet, offload. And they create opportunities from there. So the attack, you can see that they're working on certain things in their attack. On their defense, amazing how their dominant hits. I haven't looked at any of the stats, but I think they're making some really good dominant hits. And you'll see some of them in these clips. Goal line dropout. This is how you start it. That's where you want to be. Running into a double shoulder. ensuring that he stays. And what I like about this NBA is the fact that both players, both defenders, because it's a dominant head, look how they stay in the fight. Both get up and they start disrupting. Immediately, ball pressure. Ball pressure forces that rushed pass, and then you get that outside up, high edge pressure. And now we're back onto the attack. Quick ball, see the space, act immediately. Senatla, little goosey. Ron keeping the ball alive. And then again, the Stormers actually run the same shape as the Springboks now. They've got this claw, the claw of 4. They're only 3 at the moment, but they play wide off 9. So they cut out a lot of defenders. Great little out the back ball, yeah. Terrible line by Neetling, but they commit 3 of the Leinster defenders, gets the ball out the back, and a lot of teams are afraid to do this. He goes even deeper, but if you see the defense have turned their shoulders completely in, and once this camera goes out, you'll see the space that it's created. So now you've gone around them, you've isolated one defender, now we just need to make good decisions and get the ball back. And this is where the one I'm talking about, pressure pass, unfortunately, but he wanted to throw it. And I think if it's a better pass, he doesn't catch it behind him, he probably gets this ball away. So it's not a try, but at least we see a great little finish, good little inside step, no chance. Pity it's not awarded, but great attack. Started from a huge hit, disrupted ruck, and then ball pressure, rushed pass, skill set mistake, and then they get the intercept, after which they nearly score that. So on this one, kickback, counter attack, again, bang, big hit, up immediately, disrupts it. On to Prendergast, pressure, into space, and this one was awarded. So you think it's a small difference, but starting with that hit, gets up immediately. Everybody on the same page, getting off the line, and as you saw, that led to a try. There's a lot of clips I could show you, Emir, but you've only got so long. So it's impressive. It's really impressive the way that they use their defense to create opportunities for their attack. And when they attack, I like the fact that they throw the ball around. They don't get it right every single time, but when they play, they play. And when they get the kicking game right, it's disciplined. It's kicking in the right areas. But when they have a go, they really have a go.
The only counter I've got to Harry at the moment, all cock-a-hoop about his Storm, is the fact that they played against 2 Welsh teams. So what I'm saying and what I'm asking you is, how good is the attack really and how good is the defense really, if you take into consideration who they played against?
Well, I always say you need to make a mediocre team look mediocre. You get teams that can still score 2 or 3 tries, and to keep teams to nil it's actually quite remarkable in this URC. I think there's been 4 or 5 games that some teams, I think Glasgow beat someone 49-0, or the Dragons, I think. And so you still need to make that team look like a mediocre team, and that's what they're doing at the moment. And there's a reason for that. They're doing the simple things right. Their breakdown's quite aggressive, and for the Stormers as well. I mean, they're getting scrum penalties. Their forwards are scoring more tries. Their dominant hits have picked up. Their guys like Yuri Matia looks like a different player. I can just imagine with all that swagger around him of Sasha and those boys, it's rubbing off, and he looks like a different player. He's always been an attacking player, but not like I saw him in the last couple of games. So yeah, it's exciting to watch them at the moment.
Just one last question, again, to satisfy my Harry curiosity. Harry accused him of playing goofball last year, remember? So what's happened now? Why is it not goofball anymore? And why are the offloads suddenly working and sticking? Is it a bit more intelligence? Is it a bit more practice? What happened?
Well, there was a part of the Leinster game, especially in the start. I think all you needed was Benny Hill music to complement the play there at a stage. The ball was not sticking at all. But that's the beauty of it, India. They're committing to it. They know they don't want the ruck there. They want to give this ball some air, keep the ball alive, keep it unstructured for as long as possible. That's when defenses are most vulnerable. And they've bought into it. And, Dobbo's gone with it. He's given the player the license to do that. And I like it. I really do. It's difficult to defend. You can't get set. And when they do keep it, they can play unstructured and structured. Plus now they can defend. Their forwards have made a big step up. They've got De Villiers in there, which I think is one for the future. Evan Roos is just Evan Roos. So Harry must be happy at the moment.
Yeah, it grates me. Especially after that disastrous X post of today where the Bulls posted some very weird pictures. Apparently, they're now saying it was hacked. While we were speaking, I saw the message. I don't know how true that is, but that
AI,
was a shocker.
AI.
It probably was AI because I couldn't believe that the Bulls could post a picture like that. Unbelievable. Anyway, Andre, thank you so much. That was such an enlightening conversation once again. As ever, I walk away from these videos knowing much more than I did before, and it just makes me realize how little I knew to start with. But thank you.
Yeah, I mean, just a final word. This is not having a go at players. I think there's a lot of uncertainty going around in a lot of teams, and I've definitely been there before, where you're just not mentally in the right space. But I really feel like Johan's a player's coach, and he can get that. But they need to uphold some higher standards than the ones that we just saw.
Mm-hmm. All right, Andre, thank you so much. We'll do this again pretty soon when things have settled down a bit and we have a better understanding of what's happening going forward. Thanks for making time for us, man.
This is the Out the Box Rugby podcast, only on Megaphone Rugby.